Yeah, thank you, Sejuti. Just getting some logistics. Can you hear me and see me all right, Sejuti?
All good, Navin.
See my screen as well?
Yes.
Okay. So again, thank you for the kind introduction and opportunity to speak to this audience. I think we have over 300 people as I start this. So good evening, everyone, and hopefully you will find the next 40-50 minutes a good use of your time. So like Sejuti mentioned, the intention of this webinar is to cover some aspects of analytics in terms of what are the roles in analytics, what skills are required, and at least a few nudges and suggestions on how and for which role you can make a career switch if you're not from the analytics background. And not only the above, I think people already in analytics uh, can also find this session useful as you explore growth opportunities in this field. So I'm sure we have a very diverse set of people on the call who want to pivot into analytics. So let's get started. I'll just take a couple of slides to kind of give you the background and something that all of you, most of you know, and I'm just re-emphasizing what Sejuti also said, that analytics service or analytics services industry has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. And even as we speak, the market is simply exploding. The pandemic related or the post-COVID related digital initiatives are also just adding impetus to this need. So in that context, this industry was always about supply being short compared to the demand in the marketplace. And the gap has only significantly widened in the last 2 years or so. So in fact, there was never a better time than now to ride this wave or switch to analytics or to accelerate your career into analytics, as I would put it, right? So with that, let me just get started with some basics as well, just to get a sense from you. What is analytics, right? I will let you answer this question so that we are all just getting warmed up. So let's have the first poll, please, on this one. So as the poll is coming up, you have business intelligence reporting, data visualization, data lakes, supervised, unsupervised algorithms, hypothesis validation, all of the above. So let's see what you guys are thinking about what is analytics. Pradeep, I can't see it on my side yet. Just confirming.
Yes, the poll is live.
Okay. So we'll just give it a 10-20 seconds and then okay, Pradeep, what do you have?
We have about 70% voting, and out of them, about 84% say all of the above options.
Okay, I can see that now. So sure, thanks Pradeep, and thanks everybody. I think that's good to know. I think we are all on the same page. So essentially, that was the message of this slide itself as well. So with respect to analytics, whether it is business intelligence or creating of data marts or exploratory data analysis, all of the above constitutes analytics. And now that that we are on the same page with respect to what is analytics, let me just give you a quick view of what roles are there in the analytics industry. And given the nature of this industry, there are obviously multiple roles, individual contributors to subject matter experts to managers to statisticians. So like it's like different plants in a garden, if I can draw that analogy, and that's why we used some pots here. And every plant thrives based on the position where they are, and which is what I call as the landing spot in the garden. And in addition, they thrive based on the care provided by the gardener or the ecosystem as such. So towards that, you have roles like cloud engineering. I mean, I think any analytics project right now requires cloud engineers or full stack engineers or data pipeline development to happen. Then you have the data warehouse itself, where I think a lot of people are moving to the cloud data warehouse per se. So you can be a data modeler or a data architect. And likewise, data visualization. reporting, dashboarding, business intelligence tools, or an analytics consultant where you manage programs or projects in this area, you interact with the business. Data validation, where you are talking about data governance, data compliance, data testing. A regular business analyst, which most of the college freshers start off with, where you are trained in structured problem solving and hypothesis validation. And advanced analytics if you have to mature into AI, ML, and those kind of roles. Now, there might be other roles that some of you are already playing. So my only take on this is that all of these roles have to work in harmony to deliver an analytics project. So customers are no longer happy if you just say that, give me a single report or a single model, or just like, pull data pull for one or two reports. So what they want is repeated analytics at a given frequency, and they want it at scale. So in today's world, I think all of this add up to under the umbrella of what we call as scaling insights generation for with the next gen technology. So all of these roles fall under that, and that will be very important for us to kind of deliver a project on analytics. Given that you've seen these roles, and now that we've all agreed on, like, various kinds of roles exist, I'm sure there are various aspirations that many of you have, and I'm just going to bring up a few of them. Like, I've heard a lot from friends or some freshers who come to interview, or some folks that I've interacted with, that in most cases nowadays, I want to do advanced analytics, or I want to do AI ML, or I want to be in a client facing role, or the fact that I want to go to US in 1 or 2 years. So these are some common ones. There might be others as well. And while there are aspirations, there are a bunch of apprehensions as well. Like, I do not know maths or stats. How do I learn the business? I'm not from a technical background. I only know basic coding and SQL. So I've just called out a few, and I'm sure there are many other aspirations or apprehensions that you want to share. So please do share that on the chat as we go through this. So with these aspirations and apprehensions, what are the kind of skills or roles that are required in the industry? So, and you might have heard this term before as well. So there is a strong need for multidisciplinary skills and teams. But let me play out at least these four things, and at least you should have one of four things to kind of get a foot in the door. The first one being consulting, where I would say you need to be very strong in communication skills, domain knowledge, or if you have the ability to interact with, say, stakeholders or manage a program as such. The second one is you need to be an inherent problem solver, very, very curious mindset. You need to think through a problem, develop and test hypotheses, etc. Of course, technology is one of the cornerstones here. There are a multitude of technologies, and it will be important for each of you to know at least some of them, know as in learn or be an expert in some of them. In that, I would also call out that competencies like SQL, which I've highlighted, is like a omnipresent technology in the analytics space. That's why most of the companies would test you on that skill at minimum. And of course, you have techniques, and admittedly, this is in this case, at least a background in this area would help. But a lot of folks, a given time, I think I've come across a lot of folks who picked up on this field rather quickly. So it is not something that some of you cannot gather over time. So let me kind of state that as I go to the next area. So if you, now what we've seen is we've seen the roles, we've seen the kind of skills that you need. So given that a lot of you may be from diverse fields or adjacent fields, let me see how some of you can start your analytics journey, right? And this should be kind of the basis on how we probably answer some questions towards the end. What we need, like I said, is some adjacent skill that is a fit for the industry or for the analytics projects, or that is something that can be developed upon further. So let's look at these 5 options and see where you belong to, or what is the nearest to which you belong to. So just to explain that in details clockwise, so if you look at operations, so if any of you are working on marketing operations, campaign operations, risk operations, so any kind of operations kind of role, I think that is one foot in the door to start with, and that requires you to kind of know a little bit of domain, work with a lot of stakeholders, work with a lot of reports and insights. So that's a good starting point. Data management is even closer. I mean, if you're accessing data, if you're testing data, if you're pulling data from databases, if you're doing automated data validation, or if you've been working on a lot of data migration or building data pipelines, all of this is really good skill in terms of what we need for analytics. Data visualization, whether it is any tools, whether it is business intelligence or any reporting tools, any form of Excel, PPT, I think if you're doing data visualization, I think that's another skill that is a good foot in the door. If you come from an industry domain, we've had a lot of our colleagues come from various industry domain like retail or banking, pharma, FMCG. I think that's a good start as well. And project management. So project management, maybe IT, may not be IT. So, but any kind of program project management, again, is a good skill. So I'm just looking at 5 of these roles. If it is not any of this, again, give me examples on the chat and I'll come towards the end of the presentation and comment about that. But given these 5 options, again, just want to get a quick check on what is the nearest that you're with and what is your landing spot. So if you can get to the second poll, just wanted to get from this audience as to where you guys are from. So and if it is any near to any of these options also is something that you can kind of select. And Pradeep, just ping me once you see some results coming up. Yeah, I think
Yes,
I can
Navin.
see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see them now, Pradeep. Thanks.
Okay.
So let's just keep it on for a few more seconds. I think it's a good mix of folks. I think we have at least quite a few on operations, quite a few on data management, large number from data visualization and industry domain. That's interesting. So we'll give it a few more seconds and then we'll go ahead. Okay, good. Looks like a lot of you are from, Pradeep, you can move ahead. So looks like a lot of you are from the data visualization or from the industry domain background, which makes it a very soft spot from a landing spot, like I said. Of course, for those of you who have marked data management, it should be a lot more easier for you guys. And again, operations, we can take 1 or 2 specific examples for those of you who have marked that. And those of you who marked project management, again, we can take some specific examples. But what I'm going to show you next is probably going to give you a little bit of an idea about, how some of our colleagues have progressed in this field without a background in analytics per se. So if you see my screen, the first amongst them is a colleague called Aditya. So he's he was a national, he was a com science bachelor's to start with. And then he's kind of pursued badminton coaching, and he's got certified at a national level, on an India national level, with respect to badminton coaching. Now, the person that you see flanking him, in fact, the girl on the right is a girl called Thania Himman. She's touted to be the upcoming Sindhu of Indian badminton. You should hear more about her in the next few years. But that aside, I think Aditya's strength was in communication and mentoring people, right? And that is the potential landing spot. Given that he's done his bachelor's from com science background, I think his strength in communication mentoring is a good landing spot to start with. And he started with us in the area of data visualization and basic SQL skills. And he's kind of doing some of our insights dashboards for a leading luxury retailer in this space. So he's already been with us for about a year and a half or so. The next one is Neeti. She comes from a domain background, so she's obviously worked herself worked in the retail business industry. She's been an entrepreneur herself, again in the digital commerce world. Indie happens to be her brand that she had launched on Flipkart and Amazon. So her landing spot really is the business domain that she came from and her communication skills. And as we speak, she is consulting, working as an analytics consultant for a large program. And this is in the area of pricing. And this is for one of the largest QSR clients that we have. QSR is quick service restaurant or fast food restaurant. So they're one of the biggest chains that she's working for. The last one is Manju. I think he came from an IT services dev background. I think some of you mentioned that earlier. So he had development experience of about 3 or 4 years. His landing spot was coding. So he wanted, he communicated well. He had been in the industry for a few years and he wanted to kind of pivot onto from IT services to analytics. He worked as an analyst for a couple of years on one of our large projects. And then as we speak, he's working with the client at the client side, working closely with them as a trusted partner. And this is one of America's largest DIY retailer. And he's helping them with a multitude of things in the course of his stay there. So these three are good examples for you to see how diverse people can, join, and not only join can, but have a successful career in analytics. But this is not all. We've had many more, flowers, as I would call it, blooming in our garden. The first amongst them is Ankita. She's started as a business consultant, migrated to consulting, migrated to the UN World Tourism body, and then is managing an analytics program for us. Then the second one is Pallavi, who was working in the IT background and then is a professional singer and is working on development of our insights platform. Devashri is came from more traditional math stats background, and she's working as a senior decision scientist, working with some of our senior customer stakeholders. Sanjay came from an English literature background, managed operations for a long time, and currently owns Digital Intelligence, a product that was recognized as the #1 data science product that we had built, as one of the data science product that we had built. And lastly, Savino, I think he came from a commerce and a market research background. He leads one of our service lines on retail analytics. So again, if you see the tenure right from 10, 12, 15, 20 years, I think people have flourished. A lot of them have moved into so-called analytics field in the last few years, but are flourishing and doing extremely well, right? So now, is your background or your landing spot enough? I think it has to go well with what we call as what the ecosystem can provide for you, both with respect to, so you will have to obviously have a mindset and curiosity to learn. You will need to collaborate and have the ability to work in teams and as individuals, as the case may be. But more importantly, I think leverage as much as possible from the training and mentorship that you get. And of course, you need to find your right ecosystem and your right company fit. I think all of this is very important as you kind of set a foot in the door. So the landing spot will give you a foot in the door, but beyond that, I think it is these 5 or 6 things that will matter as you progress your journey in analytics. So at the end of the day, what will success depend on, right? So essentially what we are saying is your success will depend on is a function of what is your learnability quotient. You'll have to really be curious and learn a lot. You'll need to find an ecosystem that has seasoned mentors, senior mentors, seasoned mentors who've seen it, who've been through various problem solving, various situations, so they can help you, guide you. And of course, the ecosystem has to be there. And when I say ecosystem, it is not just the seasoned mentors. It is about having the right training, having the right exposure, having the right job rotations, having the right career graphs, as we call it, in terms of what you will do now, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. And of course, it's a function of time. But I think it's really a factor of these 3 or 4 things. And I think you should have a very flourishing analytics career. So that's what your success mantra depends on. Now, having stated this, let me take the next, I'll just cover a few more slides before I pause for some discussions. just want to take about 3 or 4 slides to kind of tell you a little bit more about Ugam. So Ugam is an analytics and technology services company. We help large corporations across multiple industry verticals, whether it is retail and consumer brands, high tech, banking, financial services, distributors, market research. And we do this by leveraging data, technology, and expertise to drive better decisions and performance. So we were recognized as India's #1 data science company last year. So we were founded in 2000 and become a part of Merkle in 2019. In India, at least, we have 3,000 plus employees spread across different locations, and we're recognized by Forrester and Gartner, etc. But I also wanted to show you by numbers what we manage and deliver. And this is within the Ugam Merkle ecosystem. So we manage about almost 150 plus marketing databases, by far the largest that any company manages. And these are marketing databases where you're talking about different customers and different consumers and, like, getting segmentations out and things like that. We have our own cognitive system that has about 100 million plus data points going into it that makes it sharper every day. We deal with like close to 4 billion customer records. We deal with about 2 billion spend in global digital media that we help in our media reporting, measurement, and optimization. On an annualized basis, at least 10,000 analytics models is what we deliver for our clients. 12 billion personalized emails. We measure about 150,000 campaigns. We have 3,000 plus technology implementations across 1,000 plus digital channels. Why I'm showing you this is in an ecosystem that has been there for about 21, 22 years, and with this kind of a scale, I think it is needed for a lot of people like yourselves on the call. When you get a foot in the door, you'll get opportunities to work on something like this, and that's augmented by a lot of other technology capabilities and partnerships, whether it is AWS, Google, Qualtrics, Adobe, Salesforce. I think we have a lot of these partnerships, and they enable training. There is Ugam University that enables a lot of this training. So both from ecosystem perspective, opportunity perspective, and scale of presence perspective, I think there is a lot of opportunity here. So across the globe, we are about 11,000 plus people across 56 plus offices in 25 markets. And in India, over the last year or so, we've started working from across 260 plus cities, right? And like I started the presentation by saying that we have a lot of demand. Even on our side, I think we are hiring about 1,300 analytics and technology professionals this year. So for those of you who are interested, you please feel free to kind of write to us or apply for a relevant role here. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. So I'll stop here and probably look at some of the chat or look at some questions from you guys.
Yes, thank you, Navin. Great presentation, and it gives us an overview of the analytics and how people can delve into this role. Let's take a few questions. We've already got a few of them on our Q&A tab. So just to start with, if you can tell us, like, can a person do analytics if they do not know how to code?
Yeah, so like I said, I think you'll need to have the ability to pick up on something, but if you do not have the ability to code, I think you can start with something that is not very coding intensive, like data visualization project or data validation project or such. So that would be an interesting foot in the door for some of you to start with. So yes, you can start without a coding background, and you'll have to build on that though. You'll have to build up as you kind of enter the field. If you have to make progress, you'll have to build on that further.
Okay. Adding on to this, is it possible to get a role as an analyst if one is not from a technical or a data science background in the current era?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think this entire webinar covered those aspects in terms of if you're not from a technical background, I mean, and if you're from an operations or a domain or a project management kind of background or any other adjacent field, right, as people called out on the chat, on the poll earlier, I think this is the time, and you can like use your skills right now to kind of get a foot in the door and thrive in this field. Absolutely, yes.
Correct. Okay, so we have another question from Jaspreet. He's asking, he was a civil engineer by profession and was laid off due to COVID, post which he has upgraded himself to data science and is planning to complete it shortly. Was this a good decision, and how to move ahead with success?
Yeah, I think we interact with a lot of, Jaspreet, we interact with a lot of folks like you and others who've gone through a similar journey and who are looking at some institutional learning post career stint. And in fact, we work with a lot of those kind of institutes to draw out a curriculum. So we're looking at some key skills in terms of if you have taken a training, and if you have not taken a training, we would advise, I mean, we have a path in which you can take a training both at institutes or internally at Ugam. So both options exist, Jaspreet, and that will be your starting point.
Correct. I hope that has answered your query, Jaspreet. So, Navin, Rahil is asking, is there any downtime for analytics in the near future?
So, Rahil, with the advent of the way things are growing, both in terms of digital and both in terms of data, I think data itself is exploding. And if data is exploding, I think people want to get some insights of the data. So I don't, at least in the near future, I think it will be more of analytics given data is exploding. So at least we don't see any downtime in the near future with respect to analytics. I hope I answered that question right. If not, do respond back on chat. I'll clarify again.
Yeah, Rahil, if you have more associated questions related to this, please drop it on the Q&A tab. Ria is asking, when can we start applying to Ugam, and how? I think how is already answered. I think there's a careers page Navin has just showcased on this presentation. But Navin, please share, when can they start applying?
Yeah, you can apply right now. Yeah, I think I don't know whether you caught the. I can bring up. Are you still seeing my screen or?
No,
Can
Naveen,
you?
I can't see your screen as of yet.
So I can bring up the last slide. I think you had that email ID, or you can apply on the careers page. Yeah, so you can apply at any time.
Okay, great. Okay, another attendee is asking, I'm based in Nigeria. Can I take virtual internship or a training by your company?
Yeah, never. I think I saw that question. We can work towards right now. At least we don't have. We can still think of a virtual internship during the next season. Yeah, right now we don't have currently. We do a lot of internships for students in the US, and that's what we are restricted to right now.
Okay, Vaishnavi is looking to know more about HR analytics. She said that she is an HR aspirant and want to know the scope of HR analytics in today's world. What is the salary insights for HR analysts in India? Also, she has a keen interest what skills she should start learning.
So, Vaishnavi, we actually have, even for our internal HR team, we have this requirement. So, if you are an HR aspirant and if you want to work on HR analytics, please do apply and mention that. The salary is on par with any other analyst. It doesn't depend on whether you're an HR analyst or if you're a supply chain analyst or if you're a marketing analyst. I think right now, when most of you are wanting to start your career, I think a lot of this is step one. I think both salary and role progression will follow. So that is step one. So making that first step in the right direction is important. What do you what should you start learning? If there was one skill, I would always pick SQL, Vaishnavi, but I don't know what your otherwise education background is. And if you're a non-technical role, we can look at some foot in the door with respect to data handling, data insights, and then go from there.
Right. I hope, Vaishnavi, your question has been answered. I have another question from Veena. She's mentioning that she has an experience in Java for 7+ years, but want to upskill, and I am like a beginner level now. Where do I need to start?
So, Veena, 7+ years of Java experience is very relevant for some of our insights platform development. Now, on the platform, whether you'll play a role in front-end technology or whether you'll play a role in data pipeline development is something that we can figure out. But those are very relevant for you to kind of start as well. And if you're doing well from a problem solving and communications front, I think you can even work on some of scaling up or writing programs like in say PySpark, for example, where you'll write distributed. If you're good in programming, you can migrate to writing code using distributed computing on the hardware that we have. So Veena, that is the kind of skills that you should look for. So Java should be a strength, and maybe you should not position yourself like a beginner as well. That would be my advice.
Okay, great. Saurav wants to know about cloud technology. He's asking how much of cloud technology one needs to know by a person learning data analysis.
So Saurabh, again, akin to SQL, right? I mean, if you have to get data from cloud, that would be step one. So whether it is BigQuery or whether it is, for that matter, any other cloud implementation that is there, I think accessing data is step one. Other than that, I think if you look at the whole journey of analytics, you can go from designing I mean, the implementation includes designing a cloud data warehouse to then data visualizations and then doing insights on top of it. So that's the whole journey. But so from a cloud perspective, you can slowly start. There are multiple technologies and they are evolving, but data access technology is one thing that I would recommend that all of you surely.
Correct. Arun wants to know how to improve his analytical skills. So he's asking, other than Kaggle competition, what all options we have to keep learning analytical skills, if not on a full-time analytics role?
Yeah, so Arun, more than Kaggle, there are a lot of other things you can do. Your own projects, whether it is basic GitHub, if you can showcase your GitHub, or if you've done anything interesting, why don't you write to us and showcase what you've done? And if you have time on your hands, we'll lend you some projects at least to do on the side. So that is one option. But other than that, I think it is important for you to get in a project mode sooner than later. Otherwise, you will keep learning and technologies are changing, Arun. So other than Kaggle competitions, I would strongly recommend that you get a foot in the door somewhere.
Correct. Uh, Abhijit is asking, I want to pursue my career in finance and get into investment banking type roles. What sort of data analytics skill sets can help me achieve that? And what sort of skills are now becoming common now, in big MNCs?
Yeah, Abhijit, so investment banking is a domain in itself. I think you need not be an expert in all areas of analytics that I mentioned, but handling data and um, handling certain types of techniques would be interesting or would be important for you to kind of be more successful in the investment banking role as well. And of course, the last but not the least, the entire thing about presentation, storytelling, all of those probably become more important in the role that you are pursuing. So there are threads. So if you want, I mean, if investment banking is a journey that you are on, I think I would just recommend a stint in analytics, maybe not a longer one. So that's what I would say.
Correct. I hope that has answered the question. Another interesting question that I can see from Devopriya, she is asking, she has been into logistics with 10 years of experience. However, now she wants to shift into data science field and going through training. Uh, would she be still considered as a fresher while joining?
Yeah, so Devapriya, I'm reading your question. So it's good to kind of get your domain into play, but we will need to have a conversation. It will not be a fresher, but it's not that you will be on par with a 10-year experienced analyst or data scientist as well. So for most of you, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, irrespective of what experience you have, like I said, your foot in the door or landing spot is important. Now, if you want to make a shift, I would recommend that for a period of 24 to 36 months, don't worry about what is your level going to be. You'll have to go through you'll have to go through all the learnings and all the experiences before you can bring to bear your previous experience and your little bit of analytics experience, and then we can talk about what is the ideal role you can play.
Correct. I can see a lot of the attendees are asking which course they can take to learn data analytics. If you can give us an overview on that, what sort of courses they can take?
So I think Sharvari, there are many courses right now, diamond a dozen. I think, like I said, if you look at the key skills that we spoke about, we talked about 4 areas. We talked about consulting skills, we talked about problem solving, we talked about a bunch of technologies, and we talked about some techniques. So you can pick up any one which is more closest to you, and ideally having 1 or 2 out of those 4 buckets is good to kind of get this started. And
Correct.
also in terms of when we look for people, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who apply, and that's the same for other companies as well. They apply based on a course done. I think you should look at what course you are doing, and like I said, you should probably stress upon what your landing spot is, so that we can take the best of both of that and make it work for the company.
Correct. I hope that has answered a few queries. Harsha is asking how to get better projects, analytics projects within the organization. How to get better analytics projects.
So Ashay, if you're already working in an organization, and if you're looking at better projects, I think that's a conversation you need to have internally. Um, yeah, I think, and also it will look at, I mean, uh, from an outside in perspective, I can only say that you can look at some skill development on the areas that I spoke about and see how that works for you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Navin, if you can tell how a BTech student can pursue a course in analytics. Also, for Ugam, can freshers apply for the roles? So yeah, 2 things.
Yeah, so couple of things. Yeah, so BTech student pursuing a course on analytics. Yeah, I think again there are a bunch of institutes that offer you that course, or if you apply, I think many companies would extend the leeway to hire you as long as you are good at problem solving, and if you can do some basic, if you are good at basic technology. I think if you're a fresher, a lot of those barriers are not there as long as you can learn and show the aptitude to solve problems. I think that's going to be the main thing. So you should apply directly, is what I would say, rather than take a course in analytics and then apply. You should also take a course in analytics if you're not getting any openings, but I would do both together. You can, we do take freshers. We are continuing to take freshers, so you can please apply, and you should hear back from us soon.
Also, Naveen, are there any internships available in Ugam? A few of them are asking that as well.
Yeah, I think please visit our LinkedIn page. I think our internships are flagship project. In fact, we have the founder of Analytics India magazine himself judging some of our intern programs. So in fact, this year, every year we go with a theme. This year we have what is called as an Intern Stellar Award for all the interns, so across colleges. And in this year, most of the teams worked on furthering our roadmap on a lot of our cognitive systems. So it was very interesting.
Correct. I have another interesting question from Bhavesh. He's asking, he's from Survey Analytics and working as a field coordinator. What can be his future opportunity in data analytics?
So, so for survey analytics, I think we do have a lot of consumer surveys that we analyze. In fact, a lot of our clients do give us survey data that we analyze. So if you're good in that, I think that should be your landing spot. And that should probably that's where you should start with. Of course, once you get into the depth of analytics, a lot of competencies that I talked about will be relevant. So that's what I would recommend. I forgot the name. Sorry, who asked that question, Sejuti? Okay, that's okay. Let's go on. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same question I have from another attendee, Vamsi. He's asking, he's working as an automation tester and he wants to switch to data analytics. What is his scope?
Yeah, I think automation tester, and I would assume that you have good scripting knowledge, and I think that should come to bear. And I think handling of data and scripting knowledge are things that you should highlight. And again, in the context of what I just said, if you want to apply to them also with those two competencies, just highlight and reference this webinar. We'll try and take it up from there.
Correct. Okay, let's take one more question. Sumant is asking, he has 7 years of experience in mechanical field. However, he's from non-IT background and doesn't know coding. What would be his possibility to switch to a data analytics career, and how he can do that?
So Sumant, if you in your mechanical engineering field, if you've done any kind of operations or project management, maybe that is one way. But otherwise, they would, at least at 7-8 years, you would need to augment your skill with a course of sorts. Because companies, while if you were 7 years younger, companies would have taken you just based on the BTech and your problem solving skills. Given that you've put in 7-8 years in, and there is no immediate adjacent domain, then you might want to look at some of these things, either project management or a course, and then take a step further.
Correct. Navin, one more question is how and what kind of tool will be relevant for change management and consulting role? You can mention that.
I don't know what tools are there for change management. If you can elaborate on that question, I can come back and answer that, whoever asked that. So can you elaborate on that question? I'll answer that.
The attendee might have to get back to me on this. However, we can take the next question till that time. Okay. Tejal is asking, I'm working on a campaign management currently and interested in analytics. Where can they start?
Yeah, campaign management is a very adjacent course and very relevant also. So I don't know which part of campaign management you're working on. So if it is pure operations, then of course the campaign management domain is good, and you'll have to figure out how we measure campaigns. That's going to be the starting point, and that's a good area for you to kind of come in. So do talk to us, and we can see what other fit is there.
Correct. A lot of people are asking what skills are required for an analytics professional in this industry, like to get a job. What are the
Yeah,
key skills?
I can go through some questions, Sejuti, if you're okay on the skills part.
Yes,
So,
please,
Nikhil, you're talking about Google Data Analytics certificate. Absolutely, yes. I think any Google, Adobe Data Analytics, Web Data Analytics, I think good thing to start. We do a lot of web analytics, a lot of what we call a site or media analytics. I think all of those skills will be relevant, Nikhil. So Alicia, on R and Python, the best place to learn is Google, and there are a multitude of courses, and both are different kinds of technologies when you talk about R and when you talk about Python. So any one, and you'll have to be an expert on that. Just knowing R is very different than knowing Python, and when you work on a production environment. So I think we answered Vamsi's question. Yeah. And somebody's talking about Excel and started working on Power BI a few months back. Both Excel and Power BI is a good foot in the door already. So if you want to kind of put that as a strength and walk in first, that would be better before you focus on R and Python. So that's what I would suggest, Mahesh. So how is DevOps useful, Deepak? DevOps, while not directly relevant, I think we are doing a lot of work where we are looking at infrastructure as a code and building while we build insights platform and while we configure a lot of these cloud technologies. In that aspect, I think it's an important role in the team, is what I would say, Deepak. If you want to further that into specific data analytics, you could we could talk about throughput at node levels or throughput at infrastructure levels and things like that. So we can go into those kind of details. I think it would be a very specific use case, but DevOps in itself is very high in demand. Deepak, you might want to double click on that first. So then Pausha, this is Excel and knowing basic of SQLs. I just covered that as well. You can apply for analytics role. Yeah, I'm just going to go right down. Is there an opportunity? So Soumya, is there an opportunity to learn as well as earn after switching my career from sales in cyber security at Ugam? It will be a long shot. We need to see what are the skills you have, Soumya. So that's what I would say. So I'm not saying that this is the, while you want to make a foot in the door, it may not be there for everybody. So you need to figure out, like I said, what is your learning spot. So cybersecurity sales, I don't know where things would come together. Yeah, so Arun, so my GitHub work is public repository. Sorry if I'd used a wrong shortcut approach. So yeah, I'm okay if at least, and many of people like me, I'm okay if you completely so-called copy your GitHub or your project. The important thing with your GitHub project will be that if you're talking to me, I will ask you about the project and how and what you've used, whether it is functions, whether it is certain techniques. You'll be able to, as long as you're able to defend that, that is one thing. So that's how you should, that's where you should come in. Ranjita, how wise it is to move from a business role to a data scientist role after 15 years? Yeah, it's a 15 years is a long time unless you get a good domain role that is in line with what you've learned in 15 years. I think you should continue in that role. Remuneration is definitely higher, but then you need to kind of cross that barrier of 15 years. You'll not get a complimentary remuneration right from the beginning. But I've known people who kind of moved from 10-15 years as well, Ranjita. Yeah, skills for the fresher, Harshit Raj. I think that's more of learnability and problem solving. At a fresher level, the expectations are very less. I think you have to lean in as much as possible. Last year of PDGM analytics, I need to, what do I need to do last year? Okay, I don't know where you are, but most colleges have a good placement agency, and hopefully you get a good internship, Manan. I think that's what I would recommend. Okay, so I think I covered SQL, Excel, PPT. Good point to apply. So just go ahead and apply straight away. Okay, Sejiti, I'm just checking how are we doing on time. Shall I go ahead with a few more questions or?
Yes, Naveen, we have 10 more.
Okay. So I think most of the questions are kind of repeating. I think if you have any more specific questions or any more deep dive questions, let me know. So Paresh, I covered about analytics course. I think a lot of institutes teach you that course. So just doing a course is one thing, but plus out of those 4 areas that I spoke about, I think you'll have to see where and how you can benefit from based on the course that you're doing. Johnson Brito, you're in a senior supervisory role in market research data processing. I think it is relevant, Johnson. I think we'll have to see your profile to get back to you. But relevant, you're talking about data, you're talking about market research. Both are relevant. So let's look at what you have if you can forward your profile. David, You're responsible for system transacting, personally managed, and also finance ops like key account budgeting. I've also worked on statistics. You need a mentor. I'm working on Salesforce as well. I think you ticked off a lot of things. I don't know where you're based out of, David, but do write in with these specifics, and we can just see what opportunities could exist. Ashish, mechanical engineer 2022 batch, do apply. Or also let us know which campus you're from. We are visiting a bunch of campuses starting 2 weeks. We are this year, we are going to onboard in excess of 500, 600 freshers for next year, that is 2022. Analytics. So Asha, there are a couple of things that probably you have. If it is a long career break, we have a return to work kind of scheme for, I think, folks like you. Asha, specifically, why don't you write that and we can figure out. I think most companies do that as well, but do write in and we can figure out, Asha. Yeah, I think I covered the fresher thing. So Soumya, if you have anything else, write to me specifically. Sen, what will analysts be replaced by AI anytime in the near future? What skills? See, I don't think so. Analysts will be replaced by AI. I think the demand, like I said, is far more than the supply right now. So there is no question in the near future. Having said that, we do a lot of automation using AI and ML. In fact, our cognitive system is created in such a way that there is an ability to learn from various annotations or various, when people deliver projects, it learns from the projects, and future projects are replicated based on what the past projects are. I can go into more specific details, but we have configured a bunch of deep learning algorithms, which makes it easier for a lot of our employees, a lot of Oogamites to kind of use that in their regular delivery. Asha, what is the right place to start sports analytics? Is not something that we deliver, but if there was any specific interest, Asha, you can talk. But from our side, sports is not something that we do right now. But analytics as a career, yes, Asha, you can write in. Okay. So Praveen, I'm pursuing data science course in IITM and I'm going to complete 3 months. I'm currently working as a consultant. And so Praveen, I don't know whether you're already with Ugam, then write internally to your HRBP. I don't know. So the client that you're working with, the designation will not switch based on completion of a course. So Praveen, write to your HRBP, or you can write to me directly if you're inside Ugam. What is the next process? I don't know whether any of you missed it. I can probably bring up the screen again for you to see where you want to apply. So Sejati, was that screen on, or should we bring that up for some time as we answer some of these questions?
Yes, Naveen, it would be great if you can bring up the last slide of the deck where they can apply and get the link.
So you can go to our website as well, but I'll just see if I can bring up this. I think a lot of people are asking. So let me see, sharing. Can you see the screen?
Not yet, Naveen. Yes, it was visible sometime.
Okay. Yeah. So You can either write to that email ID that you see on the screen. I'll come back to the questions in a minute, but you can either write to this. Yeah, I'll just keep it on for some time. That's my first name _ last name @ugamsolutions.com. I would also recommend that you go to our careers page, right? ugamsolutions.com/careers. So you can register there as well, and you can apply for any relevant role based on this discussion. If you think there is a relevant role, please apply. I'll keep this on and I'll just take the last few questions before we pause. Yeah, I think what will be the impact of football clubs using data analysis? I think they already use it. Chris, I didn't know you were on the call, so thanks for joining in. Chris Warner, if you're still on. A lot of you have written about Google Data Analytics course and Coursera and all of that. All of that is relevant. See, the courses are all relevant, and I cannot say none of them are relevant. I think it will be important for you to marry that with what you are currently doing and then talk to the organization as such. So I'll just take this last question and then we'll pause and see how we can take it further. So is there use of analytics in getting a job in management consulting? I think absolutely yes. I think it's a big part of management consulting if you are able to do good data analysis, good storytelling, good text, good insights generation. I think that will be a good, really good starting point if you want to still pursue a career with management consulting. Okay, with that, I'll just pause. Sajati, over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Navin, firstly, for the wonderful presentation as well as answering so many of the questions. I'm sure that attendees had an overview, I mean, how students as well as working professionals can, start an analytics career at this stage or this era. So thank you so much, Navin, for doing this. And all the attendees can please get in touch with Navin. The email ID has already been given. Also, can go to the careers page of Ugam, like Naveen has mentioned. So I think that would be all for today. Thank you, Naveen, once again for doing this, and that would be the wrap. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.